Hi there, my name's Eddie, my pronouns are he, him, and I'm the Wolfsbane Witch. And today, I'm going to be sharing my witchy battle jackets. Now this video is directly inspired by AnnMaddox's recent video, Real Magic for Basic Witches. Halfway through the video, she mentions making a witchy battle jacket, where the concept of this battle jacket is not necessarily the sort of classic punk band aesthetic that you get, but more so like using imagery that is meant to evoke something symbolically in a more magical or energetic way. A sort of political, witchy, chaos magic-y jacket that she can wear and go about her life in. And I thought that that was awesome that she mentioned that she wanted to make something like that, because I've been doing this shit for quite some time. I've got 3 of them now. I've never heard anyone else talk about doing what I have been doing. I'm not claiming to have, like, invented the idea of a witchy battle jacket or anything. Like, there's no original idea under the sun, okay? I did not come up with this. Somebody long before I was even a glint in my parents' eyes came up with this. I can guarantee you. But I've also never met anyone else who has done this, or has even talked about it. So when Kellyanne brought it up, I was like, oh shit! Oh shit, more people are probably going to do this because she's a popular creator and she inspires a lot of people. I know that she's inspired me. So the odds that someone else is going to make a witchy battle jacket are pretty high. And I thought, well, if people are going to be interested in them, why not show off mine and just talk about the sort of ideas and processes that went into making them. And that's what I'm going to do today. So come and join me as I show you my witchy battle jackets. Let's fucking go! What are you doing? Come on. Alright, so let's just dive right into it. This is the first magic jacket, and that's what I call them. I call them my magic jackets. This is originally kind of like a junk jacket, is what I called it, because I would just kind of like throw a bunch of random junk on it. Mostly pins at the time. See, this jacket I got around, I think, 2019-ish, and it wasn't originally meant to be a magic jacket. It sort of just kind of became one because I'm a magical person and I like to infuse the things around me with magic. Now, just because I didn't necessarily create this magical jacket with intention from the beginning doesn't mean that it isn't magical. The magic sort of came from me and then kind of fed into itself over time. So now when I wear the jacket, it works almost as like a power battery or a conduit or something. It gives me a very specific energy when I wear it. And that's kind of the point, is to give off and to receive certain types of energy while wearing these types of jackets. And that's what I learned from having this first jacket. And I thought that that was really cool, and I wondered how I could incorporate that into other pieces of clothing. So for me, I would really consider this jacket to be the sort of genesis of my ideas moving forward with how to create a magical jacket. Alright, so let's get a closer look at this jacket. So let's start with this side. Got some political things here, this little trans pride colored rat I very much enjoy. This was my first ever pride pin. I got it when I was maybe like 15 or 16 at the New York State Fair. Really appreciate this pin. I got this and another one that's on a different jacket on Etsy. I got this at the day of the largest No Kings protest. This was actually something I purchased at a Ren fair. I went to a Ren fair later that day, and the lady there was kind of bummed that she couldn't make it to the No Kings protest, so she made a bunch of these to sell, and buying one to share my sentiment with her felt only natural. You can see now behind this rip is a flaming heart motif. Now, I'm not a Catholic, I am not Christian, but I am a chaos witch, and I do have a very, like, Jungian relationship with imagery, especially religious imagery. So I don't take it the way that I guess the Catholics and the Christian, sort of dogma would want you to sort of take this. I take this as a symbol of fiery passion and willing sacrifice for the greater good of humanity, which is, I think, what all activism kind of is. And this is, of course, right above where my heart would be. Have some funny little pins. This was made by my friend Jordan. And then this motif actually shows up later on in this very same jacket. And then here I got this ethically sourced lucky rabbit foot. I always wanted these when I was a little kid, but I took a very long time to get one because I didn't want to just buy like one from like a fur farm. I wanted an ethically sourced rabbit foot. And finding an ethically sourced rabbit foot is so hard, but I found one, and if you're still mad at me, even though it's from roadkill, then I don't know what to tell you. I do not control the rate at which rabbits are turned into keychains. Here's an Attack on Titan patch. I just love that anime. I often incorporate characters or energy from different characters that I'm inspired by into my chaos magic. And Levi Ackerman is my Short King inspiration, so had to put a little something on his name there. Now, moving on to the bottom of this jacket is actually where I became a little bit more intentional with the sort of imagery that I wanted to put, and a little bit more occult with the imagery. This was actually more recent than up here, which I'm going to show next. And as you can see, the style of it has kind of changed. It's moved away from pins and more into patches. And that's because I learned how to actually put the patches on. I didn't know how to do that for the longest time. So here, we got this little guy, little gnome, meant to represent the earth, the fae, the connection to the other world, and I guess the sort of masculine, magical, earth, nature-y guy archetype, which I very much associate myself with. Here's a really cool pride flag design that I found on Etsy. And then some occult-inspired things. Now this, I actually consecrated with frankincense. I ran out of thread for this, so I had to iron on it. This was an iron-on, thank goodness. So I only threaded half of it. I did thread it with intention, but I plan on rethreading this later on. And then this, obviously, is sort of evil eye type thing to deflect negative attention. And then the star, because it's one of my favorite tarot cards. Now let's move up here. So I'm going to start with the sleeve. This was made by a friend of mine. It's hand-stitched. And I just threw it on there with some pins because I like to put it on different things that I wear. I kind of purposefully, shittily did this because I thought it would be funny. I could have done it a little bit worse to make it look more intentional, but I like that it's only slightly fucked up. And then here are some more personal pins from my past. Many of these were made for me or given to me by people in my life, or are pins that I've had since childhood, like this and this. These are both vintage Disney pins. And then here is the collar tag to the late Mr. Shizzle. Those of you who have been on this channel for quite some time might know that Mr. Shizzle was my cat who had passed away. He was 19 years old. He lived a beautifully long and happy life, but unfortunately, cats usually don't live that long, and time did catch up to him. So he's kind of commemorated here on my jacket. All right, let's turn this baby around and take a look at the back. So here is the back of my first magic jacket. This is a little bit more witchy than the front of it is. I kind of put this on with a little bit more intention and a little bit more direction. I wanted it to be specifically sort of witch and nature themed, that sort of connection to nature that I kind of threw in with the gnome. I was trying to kind of evoke a little bit more here. And here's that reference to that pin that I mentioned before. Then on the side, I got this little guy that was gifted to me by a friend. I just thought he was funny. And on this side, oh god, we got a funny little chicken on a skateboard and some more political patches, this time outlined in red. Yeah, that is my first ever magic jacket. I'm planning on redoing the back eventually, but for right now, it is what it is. Now let's move on to the next one. Now, moving on to the second jacket, this is the first jacket I made where the idea from start to finish, the intention was specifically to make it be a magic jacket. So I was a little bit more purposeful with the design and the colorings and basically everything that went into this one. So let's start with the colors that I chose. Now, I decided to keep this jacket mostly red, black, white, and a little bit of green and yellow here and there. I'll put on screen what the colors kind of mean to me and how they connect to the other symbolism that you're going to see on this jacket. All right, let's take a closer look. So, take a wild guess with the colors that I chose what this jacket is about. Bet you're saying protection. And you're absolutely right. The main purpose of this jacket is protection. And I made this basically like right after the Trump election happened. And that's because I knew that we were in for a bumpy ride. I knew that I was going to be wearing this thing out and about in my life as an activist. I do activist work in my community in real life. And I wanted something a little bit more robust than my other magic jacket. Like, no offense to you over there, little guy, but you're not exactly giving off don't fuck with me vibes. And so this was the more don't fuck with me vibes one. So here, let's take a look at the front. And I'm going to zoom in over here real quick. You can see my reflection. And down here we got a little black Phillip. This in reference to my name. If you don't know what that means, watch my Pride Month video, it's in that. And I really like this pin. To me, this pin is very evocative of a lot of different things, and I want to talk about that more specifically right now. So, as a trans person, you're often kind of seen as someone who is confused about your identity. And, you know, maybe you're mentally ill or something, and then one day, hopefully, you'll find your way back, you know? And it's this idea that trans people just don't know who or what they are, as if we're stupid. But in reality, all of the trans people I have ever met know themselves so much more intimately than almost any other just random cis person walking down the street. And I'm not saying that all trans people are so aware of themselves and no cis people are self-aware, but what I am saying is that being trans inherently means that you have to kind of take a step towards self-knowing and self-actualization in a very direct way that cis people just don't have to do. And so you kind of have to know who you are to be and to even say that you are trans. So my question that I'm asking when I wear this pin to all those cis people who look at me is, do you know who you are? It's not me who is confused. I think you're confused about me because you don't know. But do you know who you are? Enough about me. I'm doing just fine. So yeah, I really like that pin. It's very evocative for me. That's why I chose it on this type of vest. And then of course down here, you know, speaks for itself. I apologize for all the cat hair. It kind of sucks when you have a very bright orange cat and you have a lot of black clothing. I am so sorry to all the goths and emos out there who totally understand what I'm saying right now. You are not alone, I promise. On the little button of the lapel here, too, I have this little bead. This is just on a safety pin. But I had these two little beads. This is a little cat's eye bead. You can even see the chatoyancy there. Fucking love that word, by the way. Whoever came up with the word chatoyancy needs a fucking award. But anyway, there's a little cat's eye bead and a little evil eye bead there for protection. Obviously, that's what this whole thing's about, is deflecting the bad vibes and keeping in that powerful shit. Then on the inside here, if I can show you, there is a little pocket, a little handmade pocket that is right above my heart. Usually I keep, like, my vape in there. Sometimes I'll keep my phone in there, too. And yeah, it's just another heart motif, just like on the last one, but this time on the inside of the jacket. Now we'll move on to this side. We have this lovely pointed down pentagram, and of course I chose to have it pointed down because to me the point down is more of a protective symbol. Again, with the protection, it kind of mimics the head of dear old Baphomet here, which I also find to be a very protective sort of presence. Although Baphomet's kind of a complicated character in my own personal sort of understanding of them, so that deserves a whole video in and of itself. And then these pins are self-explanatory. I don't know if I can show those on YouTube, so I'm just gonna gloss over that. Other eyeball patch. I really like the eyeball imagery, of course. It has that evil eye, deflective sort of vibe to it, but also it kind of reminds me of those biblically accurate angels that are like really freaky. And that was the sort of vibe that I have, where I have eyeballs all over this to make it like that sort of freaky angel with all the crazy eyes all over the place. But yeah, let's move on to this bottom corner here. So I got these cute little cat patches. You can barely see this one, but I think cats are the perfect example of a self-determined and self-protective creature. I mean, they have those claws that they'll slash and strike out with, but they're also very independent. So I thought putting cats on this would not be too out of reach, and also they're like really cute. On this side I have the Magician tarot card as well, and this another stylized eye. The Magician tarot card is a tarot card that I associate with myself, and there's also another card on the other side that I associate with myself. I often pair these cards together to kind of combine and create the perfect symbol of me. And the reason why I chose to do this for this jacket is that these two cards that are meant to symbolize me, when sewn into this jacket, sort of create an energetic tag lock to my energy. So that way the jacket knows what it is protecting and who it is protecting and the energy that it is trying to conserve. I also have this patch right here. This is like such a Wolfsbane Witch themed patch that I found. I thought it was amazing. I had to pick it up. It's got a werewolf, a little crescent moon, and a little sprig of Wolfsbane on there. Quite literally, Wolfsbane Witch coated. Had to get it. All right, now let's take a look at the back. The back of this jacket is actually kind of where I started. I didn't start in the front like the other one. I started in the back. And I started with this big old Bad Brains inspired tower card. This is the sort of energy that I want to give off, because this is ultimately what this is all about. This is about breaking down those barriers that have oppressed us. On the bottom here, I have a little fire-breathing Fenrir. At least that's what it symbolizes to me. If you watch my Pride Month video, I talk a little bit more about Fenrir. I also have like a specific video on Fenrir that you can watch that will help put more context into why he's showing up on this jacket. Then on the top here, I have this beautiful round patch that reminds me so much of Persephone, obviously because of the pomegranate and the snakes on it. And it says, "The best revenge is living at all." And to be a trans person in America right now, hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Now let's talk about the process and the thought process behind my second jacket. Now this second jacket is meant to symbolize protection and aggressive, confident fierceness and independence, a you can't fuck with me, you can't push me around, sort of stand your ground type energy. There are also a couple deities that I thought of, and a couple different entities that I thought of while I was making this vest. One is, of course, Fenrir. I always think of Fenrir when it comes to activism and when it comes to fighting back against the system, breaking cycles. I made a whole video on that, so I'm not going to get too into that, but that is my sort of symbolism for that. So he appears on both this jacket and the pride vest that I'm going to be showing next. The next deity is Persephone. There is a patch on the back that very much aligns to the energy of Persephone. And I also talked about her a little bit in my Pride video, so if you want some more context as to what she means to me, go ahead and look at that. Next was the idea of like a biblically accurate angel. Something about them is very intimidating and fierce and otherworldly, and like you don't even know what you're looking at. You don't know what to make of it, but you know that it's untouchable. Whatever it is divinely ordained to be there. There is nothing that can stop that thing. And then, of course, after that is Black Phillip and Baphomet. Of course, Baphomet and Black Phillip are not the same entity, but I tend to kind of lump the sort of black goat imagery in with Baphomet in my own personal practice. Your mileage on that may vary. I understand. But that's just my thought on that. And last but certainly not least is my beloved Pride Vest. This is my most recent installation in my sort of collection that I've got going on of these witchy battle vests. And this is quite literally a vest, and that's because I made it for Pride Month. And Pride is in June, and June is fucking hot. And so I wanted something that I could wear like a tank top or a t-shirt underneath, while not being like a soup in the sun. So battle jacket it is. But obviously, looking at it, you can see that there is a very wide array of different colors on this vest. And there's also a couple different themes going on that I want to talk about. The thought process behind my pride vest and the sort of processes behind that was a little bit different. I wanted this one to be protective, just like the last one, but I also wanted it to be very joyous and expressive and bright and hopeful. I wanted it to tell parts of my story and also tell about the things that I'm hoping for, places I've been, but also where I want to be. And so that's kind of where this whole idea of death and transformation came from. And when it comes to expression, there was this idea of what others have been hypnotized and conditioned to see of me versus what I want to condition them to see of me, which is the truth, which is my actuality. So that's kind of where the hypnotic pattern thing is coming from. And then, of course, we have Fenrir again kind of showing up in different places. But yeah, that's kind of what I was going for with this one. I wasn't relying as much on color correspondence with this vest because it's a pride vest. I was okay with it kind of going a little off the rails when it came to color. So I wasn't really focused too much on that. And so this jacket is kind of trying to be real about things. Like, yes, it is kind of cute and hope core in some ways, and kind of funny and silly. But there's also images of death and transformation, which is the next theme that I want to talk about. So you can see that there's a lot of imagery of skulls and skeletons and wolves, and of course, wolves go right back to Fenrir again. I don't need to retread this. But the death imagery is, of course, about transformation. This is about transformation of the self, of course, as a trans person, but it's also about transformation of the system, of the way we think about ourselves and others, and about the way we do things. Now, these patches are actually two separate patches that I kind of Frankenstein together to create Jormungandr and, of course, Fenrir, kind of combined together as a sort of protective sigil, talisman, combined symbol. This sort of idea of like this cyclical fight where when one battle is won, a million others open up that we didn't even think about before. But that's why we keep fighting. Now, this patch is really interesting to me. It kind of has multiple meanings to me. It's both like a promise and a threat in some ways. Like, yes, the memento mori, like, finish the dream I started, right? By coming out, by being unapologetically myself, by being an activist. But it's also kind of a threat to the institutions of, okay, this is the world you created, so finish the dream you started. You started this dream. You started all of this oppression, all of this hatred, all of this hurt. Finish the dream you started. But maybe that's a little threatening. So it's a beautiful day to smash the patriarchy. And wash it down with some soup, of course, for my family. But yeah, that's kind of the basics of the front of this. It's a little, like, patchy, um, literally, but that's because I'm planning on filling this out a little bit, kind of like the more band aesthetic example that I showed you in the very beginning of this. That is not my jacket, by the way. That's just, like, some random jacket I saw on Google Images that was evocative of, like, the classic battle jacket punk style. This is very not that. This is kind of, I mean, I think it's punk, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. So let's turn this around and take a look at the back. And here we have more of that death motif, but we also have the last motif, which is freedom. Freedom is a very complicated issue right now, and I think it always kind of has been, because freedom is contingent on so many different factors that are kind of hard to see all at once. It's kind of like all these threads that are interconnected together, where you think, oh, if I could just solve this problem, then we'd be okay. If we could just get rid of sexism, then the world would automatically be a better place. If we could just get rid of racism, then the world would automatically be better. Homophobia, transphobia, all these things. But the thing is that they're all leaned together to create this, like, weird Jenga tower of chains that bind us all. And so no one is free until everyone is free. And that's why intersectionality and why activism on multiple levels is so fucking important. Because we can't solve one problem without kind of solving all of them together. And that moves me into the next patches, which is that we are stronger together. And that's how we can actually get this done. Not one person is going to be an expert in every field. Like, you can be all these things at once, but it's very hard to sink all of your energy into all of these different pots, which is why we need to work together. Moving on to the next patch that I have, which is a little bit less related to this kind of topic that I've been on, is this heart with all of these arrows. Now, obviously, as a Chaos Witch, I got this because it reminds me of the Chaos Star, but it also is meant to symbolize, like, love everyone, love all around, love outside of yourself, and also kind of symbolizes pansexuality and stuff like that, which is very in tune with what this jacket is made to represent for me, which is my personal experiences with pride, and of course, all the other things that we've been talking about. And to wrap this up in a nice little bow, let's go on to this final side and look at these cute little guys, which is this by Atomic Gothic. I have shouted them out before. They're just, I just love how quirky and cute their little critters and creatures are. I love their artwork. It's amazing. And then after that, we have this Resist and Persist patch. Now, both of these, of course, are symbolizing Fenrir, but also kind of myself in some ways. I very much relate to the sort of, like, dog, wolf, werewolf imagery, if you couldn't tell by the whole Wolfsbane Witch thing I've got going on. So yeah, like, this can be as serious or as casual as you would like it to be. My first jacket I consider to be a very casual jacket. It does have some magic and some intention in it, but it's kind of clunky and all over the place and just a little random because it didn't have any intention to start out with. So what I will say is, if you are going to make a battle jacket, you really need to have, like, a concept for it. Otherwise, it's going to be, like I said, like, it's not going to be bad, but it's going to be a little quirky and a little disconnected from itself, which I'm very ADHD all over the place all the time, so I don't mind that. But I did want to end up refining it later on, which is why I ended up making more than just that jacket. I would also like to note that the color of thread that you choose could also be indicative of
whatever you're trying to sew into your intention. Now, I wasn't too picky with the colors that I chose. Like, I know I did put a couple in red on my first battle jacket, but that was just kind of a sort of tongue-in-cheek reference to like communism. It wasn't like necessarily a magical thing. But now that I'm like looking at these vests and now that I'm really thinking about it, I could have totally used different color thread. So, if that's something that interests you, if you feel like that could be potent for you, go ahead. That could be cool. I kind of wish that I did that, honestly.
And that's about all I have for you today. If you found this interesting, if you liked it, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. But before I go, I have one more thing to show you. Meet Kringle! This is my kitty Kringle. He's about 4 years old, and I adopted him early last year, and just really haven't gotten around to posting or talking about him. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, the kitty I had before him, who looked very much like him, was named Mr. Shizzle, and he was 19. He was very old, lived a very long, happy life, but unfortunately he did pass away from terminal cancer a little bit before I adopted Kringle. And Kringle has been there ever since. Sweet little boy. So yeah, you'll be seeing more of me and more of him soon, I hope. But if not, feel free to check out my old videos. There's plenty of them. I have some feelings and some thoughts about some of the things I've said in them. But we're gonna get to that in the future, where I'm gonna kind of like make my own dedicated video talking about the things that I said in the past or believed in the past that I think a little bit differently about now, or I have a slightly more nuanced take, or maybe that I just disagree with completely. So yeah, we'll talk about that at a different time, but it is nice to see you, and I hope you're doing well. Stay safe, eat your vegetables, do your homework, all that stuff. All right, bye!